We're taking a, a pause from our What is Discipleship series to visit a series I launched the very first Sunday of this year called Rhythms. And I've broken it up and it's sprinkled throughout this year just to remind us every time that we talk about this, oh yeah, we're supposed to create a rhythm. And so, but today also being Mother's Day, happy Mother's Day to all you moms out there. I know you guys do a hard job, sometimes a thankless job, and we honor you today. So thank you, happy Mother's Day. But when we think about rhythms, and Mother's Day, it actually still is tied to discipleship because one of the number one jobs as moms is to help disciple your children to know Jesus and follow Jesus and share Jesus. And so part of their responsibility is to disciple the kids. Now, God set it up to where the father is the spiritual leader of the house, but moms kind of execute that in the day-to-day operations and how that plays out. So even though we're talking about rhythms and Mother's Day, it's still surrounded by the theme of discipleship, and Jack is going to wrap up our What is Discipleship series next Sunday. I titled this sermon, Thinking About Rhythms and Mother's Day, and I don't know that this title was published anywhere, but I'm going to tell you what I titled it, and it is, What Am I Going to Do with These Kids All Summer? Because here we are in May, school is coming to an end, families are beginning to switch gears, moms are trying to make sure that their kids are provided for, that they have a safe place and someone responsible to watch over them. They want to make sure they're fed, they want to make sure they don't rot in front of a screen all summer long. And so thinking about rhythms, what can moms do to help create rhythms for their kids so that not only are they taken care of physically and emotionally, but also spiritually. 2 Timothy 1:5, Paul writes this to young Timothy. I am reminded of your sincere faith, which first lived in your grandmother Lois and in your mother Eunice, and I am persuaded now lives in you also. Here we see a legacy passed down from a grandmother to a mother to young Timothy, preparing him to be a minister of the gospel. And then in 2 Timothy 3:14 through 15, Paul kind of alludes to this upbringing. He says, but for you, continue in what you have learned and have been convinced of, because you know these things from whom you learned it, talking about his mom and his grandmother, and how from infancy you have known the Holy Scriptures, which are able to make you wise for salvation through faith in Christ Jesus. Timothy had a mom and a grandma that instilled in him the Holy Scriptures, the Bible, that led to his salvation, that prepared him to be a minister of the gospel. What a great legacy we see. And so moms today, we encourage you, we challenge you. It's kind of funny when you get to Father's Day, like fathers, we can tell them they're horrible human beings and they need to get better. But when it comes to Mother's Day, you're the best. And we honor you because we know how difficult your jobs are. And so today I wanted to do something a little different. And I wanted to invite a mom to come join me so that we can have a conversation here with everybody. You all can be a part of the conversation and watch and be encouraged. And so I decided to invite Brandy, our events coordinator, to come and join me. Brandy, you've seen her job change a little bit and her getting more stage presence, and she's done such an excellent job. I thought she was the perfect mom, and she's living it. She's living being a mother. And but So I have a few questions for you, and when Brandy and I talked about the questions we're going to use, I've added a few. She's not expecting this. So I wanted to get just some get-to-know-you questions out of the way. And maybe people here will learn something new about you. Where did you grow up?
Right here. I was born in Kissimmee, Florida, and have lived here my entire life.
And how long have you been a part of the church?
So my parents got saved when I was about 9 years old, and Poinciana Christian Church was the one they found in the phone book, and they called Mark Atterbury to ask him questions. And next thing I know, I'm in New Dimensions High School for a Bible study on a Wednesday night, and we've been here ever since, so about 27 years.
Yeah, so that's awesome. That also shows a legacy being passed down from generation to generation. How long have you worked at PCC?
I think 2021, does that sound right?
Sounds right.
Okay, so this October will be 5 years.
And did you always want to work at a church?
No. The honest answer is from the time I was 3, I wanted to be a mom / what I thought, it was a labor and delivery nurse, but I called it a baby doctor until I was about 17. And then I decided that I was going to be an event planner. So I went to college and got my bachelor's degree in event management. And I was planning to go get my certification for teaching. And the founder of my career, Mr. Mike Black, said, would you ever consider working here? And I was like, I'm so not qualified. But as I thought about it and prayed about it, it was like my dream job, my dream come true. So I did not ever think about it because I didn't think I was qualified. But now that I get to do it, it is the biggest blessing.
That's awesome. So if you don't know, Brandy's husband, Miss Ayel, is one of our elders. And how long have you and Miss Ayel been married?
July will be 15 years.
That's great. Awesome. What do you do when you're not working?
I live in my car. I am a mom Uber. I am Uber Eats. I take the children to dance, and I just take care of our home, and yeah, I just mom.
That's great. Okay, so now I got some rapid fire questions.
Okay.
Don't think about it. Just first thing comes to your favorite holiday.
Christmas.
Favorite drink at Starbucks.
Caramel macchiato, iced.
Biggest pet peeve.
Biggest pet peeve. Inauthenticity.
Okay. Last book you read.
Oh man, the book of Joshua in the Bible was the last book I read.
Okay. Famous person you'd like to meet.
Oh man, Jesus.
Okay. I'm going to get real serious now.
Okay.
Toilet paper, over or under?
Over.
Very good.
Over.
Praise the Lord.
He was going to fire me if I said under.
Do you believe in Bigfoot?
Yes, I've seen his footprints at Animal Kingdom on the Yeti ride.
Yes.
Okay?
Yes.
Yeah.
Take that, Jack.
There's evidence.
Okay, so let's switch gears and start thinking about rhythms and motherhood. When you think of rhythm and kids, what is the first thing that really comes to your mind?
So I had to make notes, not to remember what I wanted to say, but to keep myself short and concise because I could sit here all day and talk about this topic. For me, I've learned being a mom that rhythms create order and chaos creates a mean mom. If I feel chaotic and overstimulated, I'm not my best in any capacity. And I always think that God is a God of order and not chaos. And so for me, routine and rhythms is a way of survival, but it's also a way of thriving. When kids understand and know what comes next, when I understand and know what comes next, we just function like just way better, and we're not at each other's throats, and it's like a pleasant experience typically.
How easy is it to get out of the rhythm?
So easy. So we try to practice grace, not perfection. Like that's my personal motto, like grace, not perfection, because when we hold ourselves to perfect standards, it's really easy with whether it comes to rhythms with diet or kids or whatever. You're like, oh, I messed up. I'm just giving up. I failed. Forget it. I'll start next week. And it's like you have to just jump back on the horse, give yourself grace. All it takes is a phone call from somebody who needs you, or a last minute kids are getting sick. My kids have been sick every month this year. So it's throwing off routines and rhythms, but you just have to keep jumping back on the horse.
Okay, so thinking about motherhood, and this is going to kind of be a generalization, but what do you think are some of the biggest struggles that moms face today?
I listed a few that I have felt, all of these. Loneliness. There's different phases of motherhood that are so lonely. When you are a mom of a newborn and you're not sleeping and you feel like everything else in the world is moving forward and it almost feels like you're stuck just for a minute. I call it Mom Island. And you feel very alone, you feel very unseen, and you just feel very depleted. Feeling unseen and underappreciated, like Mike said earlier, mothering is a thankless job. The kids don't come to you every night and say, Mom, thank you so much for ironing my clothes and packing my lunchbox and making me dinner. Like, they don't say thank you most of the time for that stuff, but you do it anyway. So it's really easy to feel unseen by your kids or your spouse or your partner, because sometimes we take things for granted because they're just expected. Like, mom's gonna do it. Mom's gonna make sure it happens. Guys will be like, oh, don't worry, honey, it'll get done. You're like, I'm why it gets done. Like, it's me. So it's really easy to feel unseen and underappreciated sometimes. A big one that I envy moms like my mom and my grandmother and previous generations, because comparison has always been an issue, right? We have a 10 commandment that says, do not covet, right? From day one, we've coveted. But social media has created this atmosphere of comparison. Who's throwing the big birthday parties? Who's going on the best vacations? Who's thinking up the cutest crafts for summer? And like, I know my mom didn't have that. You got what you got and nobody knew any different. Like, you were just happy with what you got. And I feel like so many times moms, we look left and we look right and we just compare and we feel like failures because we didn't do what they did and it wasn't good enough or big enough. And so it's really intentional that we have to just look forward and do what we feel is best for our kids. And then the last one is, a lot of times, not always, but more often than not, the mom is like the default parent. I don't know how many times my husband has been sitting on the couch, enjoying himself. I am in the bathroom, and my kid comes and knocks on the door and asks me for a snack. And I'm like, but you just walked past your dad. Like, he's right there doing nothing. And sometimes that load, that's a silly example, but sometimes it's like, I need help with homework, Mom. I'm having friend drama, Mom. Like, I need you to help me use the bathroom, Mom. Like, it's mom, 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 mom. And although it's a blessing and we love it, sometimes it can feel a bit overwhelming because we are the default parent.
In defense of the fathers, kids do this. They'll come. My kids did it. Come to me. Where's Mom? Well, she's busy right now. What do you need? I need Mom. Okay, but she's busy, so I can help you. What do you need? I need Mom. Okay, she's in the bathroom. They go, can I get a cup of milk? I'm like, I could have got you a cup of milk.
That is fair. That is fair.
So in defense of the dads, yes. Sorry.
That is very fair.
I don't know why. I just got worked up for some reason. I don't know why.
That is fair. That is more than fair.
Also, I want to touch on the comparison thing too, because typically, I think this is true. Again, this is a generalization, but I think the moms that you're comparing yourself to are doing the same thing. Like, they're not content either, and they're looking.
Social media is the highlight reel.
Yeah.
You don't see all the stress that she wanted to kill her family the week before making this giant birthday party. Like, and she's just burnt. Like, you don't see all that.
Yeah. So there's healthy ways and unhealthy ways to cope with these things, these struggles that moms deal with. How do moms deal with these things? And obviously we want to, we can talk about the unhealthy things, but we also want to highlight the healthy ways to cope with these.
So I made a list of a couple of things. I've been guilty of a few of these. I'm going to start with unhealthy. The first thing I wanted to say is we get into a victim mindset, or we'll just start constantly complaining and we just sit in it. And I have to, and these kids, and we just get this negative victim mentality. And the truth is we get to. Wine culture is another big one. I don't know. I feel like it was really big more so around COVID. But during 2020, I cannot tell you how many memes, like mom hard, wine harder. And you just see the mom at the end of the day, like popping her bottle of wine on the counter, and she's got a cup that says mom sippy cup. And it's true that that's a really big part of like a subculture, but it's really sad because as moms, like we need Jesus to get us through the day. And I'm not bashing anybody who has a glass of wine here and there, but I am saying like you should not need a substance to mom. Like we should not need to be sedated to mother our children, and that's a really big one that we're pushing as normal. Another one is isolation. It's really easy. I know I have spoken with countless women in this church that I love dearly, and we are so afraid to ask each other for help. We will overburden ourselves at the risk of asking somebody else for help. And it's like, we've got a village sitting right here in this room. Don't sit in isolation. Don't hide. Don't say, oh, I've got it all together. I can figure it out. I've got to, pull on my big girl pants and get it done. Like that may be true sometimes, but isolation is where the devil gets us, where he lies to us, and where we will sit in darkness. And we need to open up the windows, let the light in. And sometimes that means other people to speak into our lives. And then last but not least, for the negative ones, doom scrolling. I have been guilty of this so many times when you're up at 3 a.m. nursing a baby and you're like, well, I can't do anything else. Let me just doom scroll my phone. Next thing you know, the baby's asleep and you've been up for an extra 30 minutes. Or you have this attitude of like, well, I'm going to be needed and interrupted anyway, so I might as well not start anything productive. Let me just doom scroll. And the amount of anxiety that causes is crazy. For healthy things, I have never been a bigger prayer warrior than when I became a mom. I have been in my closet, face down, on my knees, begging God to get me through the next hour sometimes because it's hard. And sometimes the days are really, really long. So being connected to God via prayer, be in his word. Like I always tell my kids this, God is a friend. If you don't ever call your friend or ever talk to them, they stop feeling like a friend. They start feeling like a stranger. And so if God is our ultimate friend, then we need to spend time speaking with him, praying with him, reading his word. A faith community, like I said, we need to be doing life with other women and families and men too that share our faith. I cannot mom my children in a community where they don't share my faith values because I'm going to get unwise advice. I'm going to get worldly, secular advice, and that's usually not for the best. So being involved in a faith community like a church or like a women's small group or a couple small group has been life-changing for us. And then last but not least, like therapy is not a cop-out. It takes a brave person to go to therapy. And if you need to speak to a professional, there is no shame in that. I applaud you. Do it. I have done it, and I am not ashamed to admit it. And if that requires medications as well, that it requires medication. Like don't say, well, I just have to pray harder. Because yes, that's true. We do need to pray hard, but those things are not a cop-out, and that doesn't mean that you have failed.
And if you need help with counseling, we can help you get started with that and even cover a few of the initial sessions. And so please see someone on staff if you need that. Okay, very good. What if your partners aren't on board or you don't have a partner? Single moms out there are struggling, but some moms have a husband that plays more video games than their kids do. Some mothers are trying to disciple their kids, but their partner is not on board with faith. And so there's even a battle there over trying to bring their kids up in the church. What would you say to moms who are trying to do it alone?
I first want to say that I'm sorry for the moms out there who are doing it alone, because there are a lot of you even in this building that are doing it alone. And it's sad and it's really unfortunate. But I want you to know that I love you. The first thing I would suggest is to pray without ceasing. Pray, 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 pray. And then lead by example. It is really easy when you are a mother to a spouse who doesn't have faith, and it's really hard to want to get up on the Sunday fun day, the family day, to leave that spouse at home and go to church. But do it. Take your kids and go to church and lead by example. I have seen it in children where the children are being changed that God is working in them, and then the parent without faith is starting to see it and wonder why are you different? Why are you changing? So definitely just continue leading by example. It is exhausting, but you can do hard things. Just keep going. Have the hard conversations. One of the things I was talking to Mike about, I stole one book from this church my entire life. It wasn't my fault, but I had borrowed a book. I borrowed a book from the church library, and shortly after they closed the library, and I don't know what happened. I was like 16, and one day it came and it was gone. But the book was called Authentic Beauty, and the author is Leslie Ludy, and it was a book that I borrowed at a time where I was going through a rough time in my teenage years, and it was all about femininity and what God calls us to be. And one of the things she said that really stuck with me is femininity does have a part in shaping masculinity. And what I mean by that is when we nag men and we're like, you never, you always, you blah, 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 you're always on the video games, you don't care about God, you know, you're not a good spiritual leader. When we say these things, people start to believe the negative things that are told to them. And so as females, as women of God, we should say, I believe that you can be an amazing dad. I believe that one day you're going to be the spiritual leader of the house. Like, speak prophetic grace into their lives. Don't just nag them, because that nagging never brought anybody to Jesus. Like, if you give grace, you lead by example, you pray, and just keep going. You can keep doing the hard things.
I never understood or appreciated single moms until Marlo went away for a few days, and I had to try to get the girls to school. And the first day they missed the bus, and the second day I didn't make them go to school. And Marla is on the call list because with attendance. And so Marla got a call from the school saying, yeah, I got in trouble because the school told on me. And so she called me. She's like, why aren't the girls in school? I'm like, well, they're hanging out at home today. I don't know how single moms do it. Okay. What specific things have helped you and your family find rhythms? I know last summer you did a 90s summer, and I want you to talk about that a little bit. I love the 90s. I went to high school in the 90s, graduated in early 94, then was by the late 90s getting married and having babies. And like, I'm a true Gen Xer, the stereotypes, I fall right into all those. And I love 90s music, like that's my era. So yes. You did a 90s summer. Talk about that a little bit.
Well, I was born in 88, so I was a kid in the 90s. And for me, I had a really good childhood, and the nostalgia of the 90s, it was just so good. So I decided, let me show my kids what it looks like to be unplugged, to be off a screen, not all day, but we spent a lot of time just doing simple things. And it was like drawing with chalk in the driveway, blowing bubbles, riding bikes, going roller skating. We would do themed movie nights. So one of our favorite movies as a family is the Goofy movie. And so we watch that in the summertime, and we have snacks. And it was mostly just about slowing down. No more instant gratification. They had to do a checklist if they wanted a screen. So did you clean your room? Did you read for 20 minutes? Did you do something nice for your brother or sister? Did you help mom in some way? And then they were allowed on screens. And last year was our first summer doing a slow summer. I was scared because the year before we had Disney passes and it was amazing. But last year we didn't, and I came out of the summer loving it. I didn't feel burnt out. It was just great. I don't know. We're going to do it again. I'm excited.
It's funny because you said unplugged, and I was thinking MTV had an unplugged thing where bands would do acoustic sets and stuff. Yeah. Yep. Anyway, I love the 90s.
Same.
Talk about spiritual rhythms, though. That's all fun, but let's talk about spiritual rhythms that you do as a family.
So church for us is a big one. Church is non-negotiable in our family. From the moment my children were born, I think the next Sunday or 2 Sundays later, they were in church, and they have been almost every Sunday, barring a sickness. When mom and dad are excited to come to church, when we've got a social atmosphere here as well, like obviously church is for worshiping God, but when it's like, oh, you have to go to church, sit down, be quiet, nobody wants to do that. So we get excited about coming to church, and now my kids get excited about coming to church. This is Uncle Mike. For you guys, he's Pastor Mike. My kids, that's Uncle Mike. If they call him pastor, he gets mad. But this has become family. So that's number one. The other thing that we do is we do daily rhythms of prayer in our family. So in the morning, if Misael is available and he's not already on a call, when we're leaving for school, we stop and we gather in the living room and we do a prayer in a circle, and we all take turns praying, or he'll pray for us. And then when we come home and we have dinner, 9 times out of 10, we're saying grace at the table as a family. And we all take turns. Like, it's not Misael saying grace every night. Sometimes Aiden will say it. Sometimes Elena will say it. And then before we go to bed, we always sit on the couch or cuddle in one of the beds together, and everybody in the family prays, including Aiden. And they've been doing that since they were 3. And one of the things they've learned from that is to not be afraid to pray out loud in front of others, because we can be really insecure to do that. But we also just allow them to like free flow talk. We've taught them structured prayers, our Father who art in heaven, but they just talk to God. And so Aiden now will say, wait, Mom, did I pray for sweet dreams and good dreams? Because if he does, like, I might have a nightmare if I don't pray, and he'll say it again just in case. So prayer is a big one. And then we do daily-ish devotions, like I said, routines with grace, but we have a book on our TV stand called the Jesus Storybook Bible. And we also have another one called Indescribable. And they are just daily stories with the message that Jesus loves you, he saved you, and he's coming back for you. And we usually will read through a story like that and just talk about it and let them ask questions. And then other than that, it's just using moments throughout the week to teach through. One of the biggest things I think we're learning now with middle school is that not everybody thinks like you. Not everybody is raised like you. And as kids, we expect everybody to think and act like we do. That makes psychological sense to us. But when you realize that maybe your best friend is being raised in a house that's not Christian, and they're being taught, well, if she hits you, hit her back, or like just different things like that, like we as parents are taking opportunities to talk through and teach through those moments to set our children apart for Christ.
So how does this translate to fathers and grandparents and aunts and uncles and the village? The village.
The village is necessary. If it wasn't for the village, I would not be here. I'd be probably in a special room where I'm isolated and not allowed to talk to anybody. So I did not grow up in a Christian household. I had my grandmother. Definitely, when you were reading that scripture, I started to smile. My grandmother was the first person who taught me the Lord's Prayer. She brought me to my first ever Sunday school class. She definitely planted a seed. And then when I was about 9, my parents became saved, and they did a huge 180. And the cool thing about that was I got to see it. Like, I was old enough to process, okay, they were one way and now they're another way. And because of that, I made my faith my own. And our children are benefiting from that right now. We are blessed to have both sets of grandparents close by. They're within an hour from our house. All 4 of them love Jesus. They come to this church. They praise my kids for their faith, and they get excited when they want to tell them what they've learned about. And we have extended family all over the country that will encourage them and ask them what they're learning. And so it's been really helpful, because if we were doing it alone, it would be a lot harder.
Yeah. Thank you, Brandy, for being up here and sharing with
us. Thanks for having me.
These things aren't necessarily easy, but they're attainable for everybody. Yeah. And so I really appreciate you sharing with us this morning. Everybody give it up for Brandy.
Thank you.
Thank you.